I'm WXYZ-TV in Detroit. Breaking developments overseas around 2 this morning. The U.S. and Israel attacked Iran, and it's already sending shockwaves across global politics, security, and economy. So now the big question is, what do the next 24 to 48 hours look for Americans living abroad, including here in the U.S. and Michigan? To understand the implications and possible fallout, I spoke to Dr. Saeed Khan, an associate professor at Wayne State University, who has over 20 years of experience in geopolitics. This is what he had to say.
Over the next 24 to 48 hours, I would look at, first of all, what is going to be the American and the Israeli military posture. Is there going to be an escalation? Is there going to be sustained attacks on Iran? And then, of course, taking a look and seeing what are going to be Iranian responses and retaliations.
President Trump announced Saturday that the U.S. and Israel have launched major daylight strikes on Iran, aiming to cripple its military and wipe out its nuclear program. Experts say, unlike June's overnight raids, this offensive could last for days. Meanwhile, Iran has hit back with a wave of attacks across the Middle East, targeting areas near U.S. bases in the UAE, Qatar, and Bahrain. Americans living or traveling to the Middle East, I know certain airspaces have already been shut down. How much of an imminent danger are Americans living in the Middle East right now?
I don't think that Americans per se are necessarily going to be targeted by what's going on in this. They may be, unfortunately, collateral damage depending on the missiles and the attacks. At the same time, as you mentioned, there is going to be tremendous disruption to aviation because at least two of the world's largest airlines, Emirates, which is hubbed in Dubai, Qatar Airways, which is hubbed in Doha, the airspace over Qatar and the UAE have been suspended, particularly for those in the Detroit metro area. There's a lot of people who have ties to the Middle East, South Asia, and beyond. And Doha and Dubai are very, very popular sites for people to use.
What do you see happening in the next 24 hours to 48 hours here in Metro Detroit?
There are going to be the conventional sources from which we hear, those who are directly affected because of friends and family in the region, having those connections to the region. You're going to have those who have solidarity, although maybe not Iranian, but because of religious or sectarian reasons, coming out and speaking against this. But I would also imagine that we will start hearing from, ironically enough, perhaps, some of President Trump's base of support, because the president had campaigned on the idea of no more wars. I would expect that there's going to be a very motley assortment of individuals who are going to protest against this. And at the same time, I'm sure that there's going to be several people who will try to justify this because of a perceived threat, whether it's to the United States or to Israel.
Now, I also asked Professor Khan, for people living here who don't have any ties to the Middle East, is this attack a concern for them? His short answer is yes. Look, any kind of military strikes brings uncertainty, obviously risk to civilian lives and potential to violate international laws. And of course, there's also disruption in many spaces, including travel and possibility of gas prices rising. So we'll be following this situation in the Middle East closely, both on air and online. For Scripps News Group, I'm WXYZ-TV.